And Rachel Zegler, being 23 or whatever she is, like so many kids raised on TikTok, she's all for infantada is the only global solution. So the two stars hate each other. And then they couldn't put dwarfs because this is just so typical of the left. The progressives always finding a way to find their way back to doing something not progressive. You'd think the most progressive thing would be get people jobs, and dwarfs want to work.
But it's hard. And it's lonely. It's very lonely. I just know that if that loneliness can exist, so can other things, and I will be okay.
Just when we thought wokeness was finally gasping for air, Rachel Zegler, the star of Disney's Snow White remake, pulls us right back into the chaos. Apparently, simply acting in a movie isn't enough anymore. Now, every press interview has to double as a TED Talk on why anything before 2016 was basically a crime against humanity. And when Bill Maher smells woke nonsense, he doesn't just roll his eyes, he completely obliterates it. Today, we're diving into Maher's savage takedown of Zegler's Snow White disaster, a film that's somehow become the epicenter of a woke storm. From bizarre commentary to unnecessary political preaching, we've got a lot to unpack. So let's not waste any more time and get straight to the heart of this mess.
And Rachel Zegler, being 23 or whatever she is, like so many kids raised on TikTok, she's all for infantada is the only global solution. So the two stars hate each other.
All right, I'll roll the clip in a second, but for those of you like Maher's guests who have no idea what's going on, here's the quick rundown. Rachel Zegler played Snow White, and Gal Gadot played the evil queen. Pretty simple, right? Well, just before the movie's release, Zegler made some comments that stirred up significant controversy online. This led to a messy situation involving her co-star, Gal Gadot, and required Disney to take extra precautions. When Zegler was questioned about the drama, she further exacerbated the situation. And that's the backdrop to the clip we just watched. Now let's get back to Maher's savage takedown of this whole mess.
And then they couldn't put dwarfs because this is just so typical of the left. The progressives always finding a way to find their way back to doing something not progressive. You'd think the most progressive thing would be get people jobs, and dwarfs want to work.
It's like an honest golden employment opportunity for dwarves.
There's not that many scripts that come down the pike.
No, only 7 of them.
That has, and there's 7 dwarf jobs here. But because I think it was Peter Dinklage said this is, this is not right.
Maybe the woke left should just drop the whole progressive act and call themselves retrogressive, because the level of lunacy here is off the charts. We all grew up loving Snow White, and I'm pretty sure the original writers didn't have a single ounce of wokeism running through their veins. But now we can't even have real dwarfs in Snow White because they didn't want to reinforce stereotypes. So instead, they went full CGI. Yeah, that's the solution, right? Using animated dwarfs instead of actual actors with dwarfism is supposed to fix the problem? Spoiler alert, it doesn't. If anything, it just wipes out opportunities for a group of actors already struggling to find roles in Hollywood. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is Disney's version of inclusivity, ensuring fewer people get hired while patting themselves on the back for being progressive. But wait, it gets even worse. Here's a clip of Rachel Zegler talking about being woke. Brace yourselves, it's about to get cringy.
Can you tell us a little bit about your version of Snow White?
Yeah, I mean, Snow White is the girl you remember, but she's definitely made for the modern age, and there's such an emphasis on what it really means to be the fairest of them all. And for Snow White, it's coming to terms with finding herself and finding her inner voice and finding a sense of agency so that she can be a just ruler and a wonderful queen, because there's another one in town.
Did you catch the dripping sarcasm in her voice? The not-so-subtle shade she's throwing at her co-star, Gal Gadot? Oh, it's definitely there. Because to Zegler, Gal isn't just another actress. She's the embodiment of old-school conservatism, a relic that must be torn down. And who's leading the charge into this brave new woke utopia? Rachel Zegler, of course. Talk about delusional. But here's the thing about the woke mob. They're not just out of touch with reality. They're downright vindictive. In their world, anyone who dares to question their narrative isn't just wrong. They're an enemy that must be erased. We'll dive deeper into that in a second, but first, Let me roll another clip of Rachel Zegler in her natural habitat, spouting nonsense like it's her full-time job.
Original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her.
Yeah.
Weird. We have a different approach to what I'm sure a lot of people will assume is a love story just because, like, we cast a guy in the movie.
Right.
Andrew Burnap, great dude. All of Andrew's scenes could get cut, who knows?
I warned you. I told you to brace yourself for a cringe fest. And here we are, knee-deep in yet another woke disaster. Seriously, why does the woke left have this insatiable need to ruin everything? We all grew up watching Snow White, loving the story for what it was, a fairy tale, not a political manifesto. But now, someone's sitting there thinking, I wonder if this prince is a problematic stalker. And suddenly Snow White isn't a love story anymore. It's oppression wrapped in animation, with the prince just another straight white male violating boundaries. And of course, the woke mob doesn't stop there. They want everything rewritten, rebranded, and re-educated to fit their worldview. Forget classic romance. Forget feel-good storytelling. Everything must now be a social justice lecture. Honestly, I can't wait for the day we go back to when movies were made for entertainment, not for pushing agendas. Back when studios cared about telling stories, not appeasing activists. Because if the woke crowd keeps rewriting history like this, we're going to need fairy tales just to remember what sanity looked like. Now, if you think Ziegler's madness started recently, you're in for a surprise. Check out the tweet she sent after Donald Trump won the election. I find myself speechless in the midst of all this. Another 4 years of hatred leading us towards a world I wouldn't want to live in, leaning us towards a world that will be hard to raise my daughter in, leaning us towards a world that would force my daughter to have a baby she doesn't want, leading us towards a world that is fearful. I shouldn't be this shocked, but I am. I am heartbroken for my friends who awoke fearful this morning, and I am here with you to cry, to yell, to hug, to wax poetic on how the left continues to fail us in forging a new path forward. This loss should not have been, and it certainly shouldn't have been by so many votes. I echo Ethel Kane's statement more than anything. May Trump supporters and Trump voters and Trump himself never know peace. So, Zegler isn't just your run-of-the-mill woke activist. She's a full-blown hysterical lunatic on a mission to annihilate babies, because in her enlightened woke utopia, life magically begins at birth, and anything before that is just a meaningless clump of cells. I always thought grandmothers were supposed to be excited, even overjoyed, to see their daughters give birth, literally the norm across every culture. But apparently, in this new woke reality, pregnancy is now some oppressive burden that should be shrugged off like an inconvenient Amazon package. It's bizarre how the same people who preach about protecting life in every other context, whether it's saving trees, stray cats, or even fictional characters, completely lose their minds when it comes to protecting actual human babies. But that's the woke left for you, defying basic biology, rewriting fundamental truths, and calling it progress. And this is exactly why Snow White is failing at the box office. My checks reveal that the movie has grossed a measly $96 million of its $270 million budget. Experts say the movie needs to make at least $500 million to break even. But from the looks of it, that's never going to happen.
Do we have a moment for Rachel Zegler and Snow White? Because there is an update in that story today. There was an in-depth piece, like a behind-the-scenes piece. Was it Variety? Talking about how they've been in a full meltdown about this girl for a couple of years now.
Rachel Zegler seems to be the albatross around Disney's neck that they just can't shake off, no matter how much damage she causes. She's like a walking, talking bad omen, hovering over Snow White and dragging it straight into the abyss of Hollywood's worst disasters. At this rate, they might as well rename it Woke White and the 7 box office flops. If only Zegler and Disney had ditched the relentless woke preaching and focused on making a fun, entertaining movie, maybe, just maybe, this film wouldn't be shaping up to be one of the biggest embarrassments in Disney history. But no. Instead of bringing magic to the screen, they turned Snow White into a social justice thesis, and audiences everywhere responded with a resounding, "No thanks." Now Disney is stuck, with an actress who alienates fans, a film no one asked for, and a colossal box office disaster looming large on the horizon. Maybe next time, they'll remember that people go to the movies for entertainment, not activist lectures disguised as fairy tales. Apparently, someone from Ziegler's team or Disney realized the damage her woke tweets were causing, so they persuaded her to put out a sham apology video. Take a look.
But it's hard. And it's lonely. It's very lonely. I just know that if that loneliness can exist, so can other things, and I will be okay.
One thing we know about the woke crowd is that they'll do anything for money, even if it means churning out a half-baked apology video once the backlash starts hitting their wallets. But does anyone actually believe Rachel Zegler or Disney have genuine regrets? Not a chance. They're not sorry for what they did. They're sorry they got called out for it. From where I stand, neither Zegler nor Disney have had a moment of self-reflection. If anything, they're probably doubling down behind the scenes, convinced that the audience is too backward to appreciate their brilliance. The only thing that might make Disney reconsider their woke obsession? Bankruptcy. And honestly, at the rate they're going, that might not be too far off. Because here's the truth. People are done with being lectured. They don't want their childhood classics hijacked for political agendas. They want entertainment. And if Disney continues choosing wokeness over storytelling, they deserve every empty theater seat and every lost dollar. And with that, we've reached the end of today's video. If you enjoyed it, hit the like button and subscribe for more videos like this. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.